Hi, I'm Nicholas Seminario, founder of Dark Angel Company. This podcast is to share the untold stories of just a few of the many people battling mental illnesses in this world. If you're in need of a little inspiration to keep fighting or to feel less alone in your battle, keep listening and share to spread awareness. This is the Dark Angel Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Dark Angel Podcast. I hope everybody has had another great week. We've been rolling through these episodes lately. Been posting every week for the last, 2 months or so, or 3 months, right? It's been it's been going well. I also just wanted to quickly mention, we do have a sale on our website. If you guys want to check it out, we do donate 10% to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And along with that, they are also holding a campus walk. So if you guys want to look into that, you guys can get all their information on their website. So today we have another interesting episode. We're going to be talking about FOMO. I'm not somebody really who experiences FOMO, so I think that's partially a good reason why we're talking about it. I don't really experience it, so I'm going to kind of give my outlook on it and why I don't feel, that being left out or missing out. So yeah, if anybody doesn't know what FOMO is, it's the fear of missing out. It's basically anxiety that you feel that a better event may be happening and you're not there. Your heart may be beating faster, you feel a knot in your stomach, and that's your brain's survival mechanism, and that's just it's kicking into action. Humans historically are meant to be a part of a community, right? Simply for survival. That's how our ancestors, I guess, survived, right? Like everybody was in a group and they were together, right? They had that sense of community. But we definitely don't need that anymore, right? People live their own lives, whether it's, just your family and you're by yourself or whatever it is. You don't need to technically live in these huge communities where everybody is always together. So now this survival mechanism has the nickname FOMO. And it's very easily triggered and can make us all feel awful. Most people at one time or another have been preoccupied by the idea that someone is somewhere and they're having more fun or leading a better life than they are. For those who skew towards such feelings, smartphones and social media have made it easier than ever to track what others are doing, right? So it's kind of in our face now. So it's a lot more prominent and a lot more easy to let those things bother you, right? So the main symptom is FOMO. The main symptom of FOMO is just feeling really bad about yourself when you feel like you've missed out on something. So have you ever had a situation where you've experienced FOMO? Are you somebody who really, like me, do you care about FOMO? Is it something that bothers you?
Not really anymore. When I was younger, yes, because you see all your friends. I guess the one example I can remember, when I first moved here from Arizona, I was in a new school, all new friends, and it was a new environment. And because of the nature of where I live, a lot of people walked home, and everyone who went to school together in elementary school, a lot of them hung out with each other after school. And I didn't really have that at first, so I definitely felt that then. More recently, I haven't felt, and even if I have, it's not something I really care anymore about, because I enjoy what I do with my time. And I think that's a big thing. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, you tend to look outwards as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, I'm kind of along the same lines. I guess when I was little, I really don't think it bothered me either. I was never somebody who cared about not being invited. And look, there was plenty of times where I wasn't invited places and I saw my friends doing things. I guess when I was younger, maybe like middle school, it would bother me. And I just remember, I guess, feeling like left out, right? Not even that you're missing out, it's more that you're being left out and you don't even have that chance or that choice to partake in what's going on. I guess it would be more along the lines of that. Now that I'm older, I really don't care, kind of like what you said. But I know a bunch of people who it really does affect them, and it's hard. My sister, she's an example. My older sister, she loves being everywhere, right? She loves being with people, whether it's our family parties or, she's going and hanging out with her friends. And when she has both of those things at the same time, she really has a hard time picking. And sometimes she'll try and do both. Like she does not like missing out on things. And I've always kind of looked at that like, that's very interesting to me, right? Because where me, I'm like, I'd rather go to neither than, like, so I'm more where it's like, oh no, like I want to be home. Like I'm more of a homebody. So I prefer not even being given either choice, like where a lot of people, they want to have both and they want to be able to do both.
Yeah, I'll say I definitely have struggled with that choice, particularly, between friends and family, if you have multiple things going on at once. That's something I've definitely struggled with, but I don't think that comes from a fear of missing out, more of just I feel I should give my time to everybody. More that than missing out.
Okay, yeah, and I know you're somebody, exactly, like you like spreading your time evenly.
Yeah, it's not so much that, if I'm going to go hang out with my family, I'm worried about them. My friends are having fun without me, but, it could be that. You never know. I don't think I've thought about it enough to really tell you an answer to that.
I'd be curious, to kind of see what it really comes down to.
Pay attention to it more,
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes we'll back out of plans you made with somebody because another plan that was quote-unquote better came up. And you don't want to miss out on that plan, which isn't nice. And I think a lot of people are also guilty of that. And, I don't even think I really do that either. Like I said, I'm someone where I try and make the least amount of plans as possible. So it's like, if I have something already in place, like that's it. It's kind of set in stone. I'm not going to be, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. I'm not somebody who really lives with regret, or at least yet, I could change my mind about that statement in 30 years from now, right? I may be like, I wish I did this, but as of right now, no, I don't kind of have those wishes. Do you ever notice yourself making those plans, right? Like, and then kind of canceling and being like, I can't anymore, and
not for other plans, maybe to like sleep, but not really. I don't necessarily like pick one I think is going to be better. I just kind of go with what I've done.
Yeah. Okay. So now I kind of want to get into how to come to terms with FOMO, right? So for those of you who are dealing with FOMO and have a hard time overcoming it, here's kind of what I do in my life to really not let it affect me. And that's kind of the bottom line. First off, you have to come to terms with it, right? You have to acknowledge that you're not going to be able to be at every event, right? You're not going to be able to be a part of every vacation. It's impossible, right? If it was possible, then we wouldn't be human, right?
Yeah.
So accept it and accept that you are, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And find joy in where you are. Find joy in those things that you're doing. Second, I think, we've stressed this a few times now, is taking a break from social media, right? It's such an easy way for everyone to kind of compare and judge, and you're going to feel left out if you're not invited to something and you see all your friends are doing something and you weren't included, right? Like, that's not going to positively fuel anything. When you see other people are doing stuff and you want to kind of jump in, it's like, and you can't, that's hard, right? You're going to really have FOMO and you're going to feel bad about yourself. So definitely kind of take a break from it and just don't throw it all in your face. Don't make such a big deal out of it. Third, I like to find what makes me happy. So I don't have FOMO, and I think this is kind of why. Because when I'm doing things, I'm not wishing I was doing something else. Like, I do what I want to do. So if I want to go golfing, whether it's with you, whether it's by myself, I don't care. Whoever wants to come. I'm more than happy to go with people. But I'm going to go golfing no matter what, or I'm going to go whatever it is. It's like, that's the stuff that makes me happy, so I'm going to do that. And I don't have that fear of missing out because I'm the one who's making the plan, right? I'm the one who's sticking to what I want to do. So, that's a perfect example, right? Golf. I'll offer it up to my friends. I'll be like, all right, you guys want to go golfing? If they say no, okay, I'm going to go golfing. Like, I don't need other people around me to validate what I want to do. I like flying solo, and I don't mind it.
I think that's also something that people in general, I feel like I've noticed, struggle a lot with today is the willingness to do something by yourself, especially in public. Like, that's not there anymore. Like, you almost always have to have someone with you. And if your friends aren't willing to go somewhere and do something, sometimes people just won't go do anything at all. I definitely struggled with FOMO once I started getting on social media when I was younger. And, you'd see all these friend groups together doing things. And sometimes you're not there. You have to be okay with that. Because at the end of the day, it's still your choice. You made that choice to stay home. You just aren't able to go to certain things. And that's just okay. The world's not going to end. There's always going to be tomorrow. There's always more opportunities to do those things and see your friends and spend time hanging out and all these other things. It's almost like not taking the moment too seriously.
Did you play in like the Little League World Series, like the not like obviously we didn't go to the actual, but that tournament, right? So where you work your way up, So my team, we won districts, and I think we were on to going to states. My family wound up having a vacation, right? So I couldn't be at the championship. So we already won districts, right? So we were the best team in the district. Now I think maybe it's counties next.
I want to say, something like
that.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's county. Because then it's the best in Nassau County, the best in Suffolk County.
Yeah.
And then, then you go on to states, and then, right.
Or they might do region. I don't know if they do region within the state and then states or something like that. Okay. I think states is the last thing, because then you go, no, it's states and then regionals, because then you have like the Southwest and all that stuff.
Yeah, so my team, we won districts, we were going to counties, and I had to miss it.
Yeah.
And I feel like even at that point, like, obviously I didn't want to miss it. Like, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Literally,
like, we could have kept
1 year.
Yeah, and we were doing so well. I think we actually wound up going to the States. I don't remember, but we went pretty far, but I had to miss the championship. So even now, like, there was a picture, I wasn't in the picture, and it's like, looking back, like, yeah, it kind of sucks, but then I wasn't like I didn't have FOMO for it. I was upset I wasn't there, but not for, like, you know what I'm saying?
So what would be the difference then between FOMO and being upset that you're not somewhere? Because I feel like those two emotions are very closely tied together.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the fear of I wasn't fearful of missing out on, the game and everything. I guess I just wanted to be there in support of my team.
Okay, so one would be disappointment more so, and the other one would be like almost stress over the fact that you're not there?
Yeah, exactly, where it's like physically like debilitating, and then you don't know what to do. Like, I still had an amazing vacation. It wasn't like it stopped me, you know? Like, it didn't ruin my vacation by any means. I was just like, oh, it would have been nice to be there. Yeah. I didn't let it like really affect me. Of course, when I first got social media, I was in 8th grade, so I didn't have like access to that. So if my friends were doing something in 6th and 7th grade and I wasn't invited, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So
I'm
it was
right there
like,
with you. I didn't have any social media until even almost high school.
Yeah. So it was probably better that happened.
I noticed that I didn't have all those emotions, and I never worried about that kind of stuff until I got social media.
Yeah, that's so funny, because I agree. I say the same thing. It's so true. And like, looking back, I know this is kind of off topic, but I used to always be like, no, I want social media. And like, your parents are 95% of the time, they're right, and it's like.
Even more than that.
Yeah. And it's kind of like an I told you so moment where, it's really not.
10 years later, you tell your mom you're right, but.
Yeah. Too late now.
Yeah. Doesn't,
Yeah. But yeah, so back to the FOMO stuff. I want to kind of talk about too, like, seriously, like with my sister, like, she is someone where, like I said, she kind of gets so torn and really doesn't know what to do, because she's also a people pleaser. Like, she doesn't like upsetting people.
Yeah.
So she wants to make everybody happy, and she wants to make people happy by being there, and she can't be in both places. So, like, where me, I'm more like, oh, I don't care, whatever. Whether that's selfish, however people want to look at it, is one thing.
At the end of the day, you have to make a choice.
Exactly. Exactly. And I really don't let it kind of dictate my life.
In those moments where you're feeling FOMO too, it's almost like you're not being present. You're not being where your feet are. You're not really enjoying whatever it is you're doing. Even if you're not doing anything, you made that active choice to do nothing, because you can always get up and go do something, So be there, enjoy whatever it is you're doing. And 99% of the time, by just doing that, at least when I was younger, it's something my mom used to tell me when I would feel FOMO or whatever you'd want to call it, upset I wasn't going somewhere. She would just kind of tell me to, whatever it is you're doing, just kind of enjoy the moment, kind of take your mind off of what's happening somewhere else, because you're not there and you're not going there, you're not going to be there. And yes, that's upsetting, and that can be very debilitating for some people. But if you take all that energy and you focus it on what you're doing instead, all those thoughts and all those emotions, they kind of just fall away. It may not happen. It almost has to happen when you're not paying attention to it, though.
If you hyper focus on it, it's not going to help you either.
It just makes it worse.
Yeah. So it's like you kind of have to
distract yourself.
Yeah, and no matter what, something's going to be happening in life, right? So no matter what, like even right now, we're probably missing something, right? Like we could have been doing whatever. Like could
have been golfing.
Yeah,
it's
right?
58 outside,
Exactly. So, but we made that choice. And we're not, I wish I got to do that. Like,
just go tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, so it's like when you find yourself thinking the grass is greener on the other side, remind yourself that you have to water your grass too, right? So stop looking over the fence.
I like that.
Yeah. And, the next Friday that you decide to stay in, keep in mind that we're always missing out on something.
Yeah.
You're not always going to be able to do everything. Choose that one activity or path that you need to recharge with some alone time, or maybe, you want to have an early start the next day. Whatever reason it might be, it's important to remember that as humans, we live by making a series of trade-offs, right? So nothing is going to go your way 100% of the time. And look, if it is, God bless you. You're super lucky.
Yeah, you want to give me your life? Because that's just...
it's not realistic.
Like yeah, it doesn't for anybody.
So, you have to be real. It's like focusing on those things too much isn't going to be what's beneficial. You have to kind of, like I said, water your grass, right? Focus on what you do have and kind of improve it from there. Another thing, don't miss out on the present, right? So FOMO is kind of ironic because while we're fearing missing out on something else, you might be missing out on the present, right?
Yeah.
You might be missing out on what you're actually experiencing. So stop being worried that there's something better going on when you could be making your situation better than what the other situation could have been. Do you ever notice yourself kind of comparing these two situations? Like, let's say, I don't know, where you'd be home and then you would want to be, say, if your friends are going on a trip, right? How do you kind of look at that stuff? If you had to stay home, in those situations, are you experiencing FOMO?
Not so much FOMO. I've had to say no a lot more recently to a lot of my friends, and that part has definitely been upsetting personally, right? Because I want to spend time with my friends, I want to do all these things with them, but I'm at a point where I just can't. Some days, I have to work a lot, whatever it is. There may be something else going on. I have family stuff, whatever it is, right? It requires me to say no sometimes. It's tough to say no, but in those moments, you're saying no for a reason, right? Or even if you're not saying no. I'll stick with the saying no, though. I'll finish that thought.
Yeah, and then we'll get into the...
Yeah. So, when you're saying no, you're actively making that choice. Whether you really want to or not, something is forcing your hand there, right? So when I have to say no to my friends, right, it's for a reason. Whatever that reason is, that's where your energy goes. That's kind of where you focus. That's where your effort goes into. Because if you start thinking about, I got stuck at work for 12 hours the other day and I didn't want to be there. And I happened to be just sitting there thinking about all the other things I could be doing. And then it felt like in 5-10 minutes, my mood, I just went from happy and, I can't wait to go home and relax to I'm miserable. It's something I'm actively working on, kind of focusing more on the present and just kind of enjoying where I am. Even if it's not the most enjoyable thing, there's a lot of power in that, I've noticed. And it tends to take away a lot of those negative emotions because you're not focusing on those things. You're just focusing on where you are, and whatever's about to happen is about to happen. You just kind of be there for that. Life isn't always going to be spectacular 24/7. You're going to have a lot of those dull, boring, I wish I was somewhere else moments. And that's okay. That's part of life. That's what makes those exciting moments more exciting. You shouldn't feel like, okay, just because I'm missing out on this. I know a lot of times, thoughts creep in, especially when it's with your friends, say you weren't invited, right? Those thoughts of, they don't like me anymore. Am I not good? Like, just by the nature of it, right? If you're not invited somewhere by your friends, you feel a little upset. A lot of those emotions, a lot of those negative feelings go away when you just let them go away. Notice that they're there, but don't give it any power.
Like, that's even something that I need to hear too. I feel like, especially my younger self, because I'm going to be honest too. Like, when I was in middle school, if I wasn't invited somewhere, it bothered the shit out of me.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like,
I would freak out. I'd have like a panic attack sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever you want to call it, a little tantrum at like 11 years old.
Yeah, but it's hurtful, right? And
yeah.
I feel like also at that age, it's hard to kind of communicate how you feel and really understand what you're feeling. Now we could, I feel like, understand it more and look back and be like, okay, this is what we were experiencing. But at that age, that's tough. It's like, why am I not good enough to be with them? And there's just so many thoughts that go through your head, so many logical thoughts. It's a fair assumption to make.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed too, like you'd say there's negative emotions associated with those feelings a lot, right? Like
totally.
With FOMO.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of times those negative emotions stick around because people have a hard time identifying exactly what they are?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. And I think they take those things out in different areas, or whatever it is. Like, if they weren't invited and then now a month later they're invited, they might treat those people a little differently. I think definitely you can have some negative emotions with it.
By not understanding those emotions, say you're just not old enough, right? Like, you haven't experienced enough. You don't really know where that emotion is coming from. Do you think that can have a negative effect, or do you think you notice it less if you don't know exactly what it is?
I think it could be both. I think it could come out in different places, right? So if you're a younger kid and maybe you're acting out because you're upset, you feel like you're not getting the attention you deserve. So whatever it is, you might be trying to kind of call out for help without even realizing, and because you don't know how to deal with that stuff. And then it could also be the opposite, where, like you said, if you don't really understand what's going on, you might just kind of let it roll off your shoulder, and it might not be something that you're really thinking about. It might just go in one ear and out the other. I'm definitely someone now where I think the reason I don't care either is because I guess I'm more worried about myself. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think now you understand those things and it doesn't affect you as much because you understand how you feel better?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's more just you enjoy doing what you want to do more?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's kind of a mix in between, or how do you kind of differentiate between that?
Well, I think it's definitely less upsetting because I do understand it now, and I understand how to sit with those feelings and really not let it affect me. It's funny. So one of my friends, we've been going to the simulator a bunch, and we went to the simulator, it was like a month or two ago, and after they were like, oh, you want to go bowling? And normally me, I'd be like, no, that's all right. I just want to go home.
Yeah.
And so I had to run in, grab a pair of shoes or whatever because they drove. So they dropped me back at my house, and they were like, all right, yeah, we'll wait outside. Let us know if you want to come. So I'm like, yeah, and then I go inside, and my grandma was here, and my parents were out to dinner. So I was like, do you need me to watch Leanna? Do you want to go home? And she was like, no, that's all right. I was like, you know what? I'll just go. And then I get back in the car, and they're like, we're shocked you actually came. So I feel like I have the opposite of FOMO. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're talking about. You have no desire to do something sometimes.
Yeah.
And you almost have to make yourself go.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of, I think that all ties in though, with my social anxiety. It's now I have to go out and whatever it is, it's going, with unknown things, but like that was against my comfort zone, and I did it, and that was kind of the main reason why I did it. Obviously I wanted to see them, and they knew that, and I was also like, you know what, this isn't something I would normally do. Let me go and do it. But yeah, so I wound up going, and it was just funny, I was like, yeah, like,
You enjoyed it?
yeah, of course, like I had a great time. So not experiencing a FOMO because, like I said, I'm the complete opposite. So that's why I've really never experienced it. And as I got older too, I've also learned more about myself, and I've learned more who to surround myself with. And when I surround myself with people, generally it's people who I know are not going to treat me a certain way. I have a very small circle, and I trust them all with my life. So it's like, for that, I feel like that kind of also helps with FOMO.
Okay, so essentially you just got more picky, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
bit with friends and social situations and all these things.
Yeah, because when I was younger, I had a ton of friends. Like I've talked about, we had a small school, so it was like everybody kind of...
everybody, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, it was the same way for me.
Yeah, and so we were all just hanging together, and then sometimes some kids would get left out, and sometimes that kid was you, sometimes it wasn't, and it was all over the place.
Another thing, too, I feel like, is a lot of times with FOMO, it's almost taken personally, and I don't always think it's personal from the other side of it. Like, I don't think you are intentional. I don't think people have ever said, I definitely haven't, like, okay, let's definitely make sure whatever we do, we don't invite him.
Yeah.
There's certain times where it's like, okay, maybe, if things have been awkward or uncomfortable or friendships are kind of on the last leg, like, okay, that's different, I feel like. And that. When your friendships are kind of, I don't know how to say this, like on the way out.
On the outs. Yeah.
Like, I think that at least when I was younger, I took it more personally. If anybody I was friends with kind of like, I guess, didn't invite me somewhere. Now it's, it's not something I take personally just because it's not, it's not their responsibility to think about me 24. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, of course. I think it can be both. Like, I think sometimes it is intentional, right? Like, I definitely remember situations when I was younger where there would be kids who would be like, oh no, we don't want to invite them, and then, like I said, sometimes that kid was me. You knew it was intentional, and if you're inviting them places, even if you weren't like best buds, right? Like, even if it was friends of friends, like I said, right? We had a big group, right? So generally we always invited everybody, right? Whoever it was, my birthday, whatever it was. But then there's those kids, for whatever reason, who are not going to invite everybody and not include everybody. And I don't want to say it's completely intentional, but I do think there's some intent behind it. And I think also at that age, that's more of a parent's job.
Yeah.
You should be mature enough as an adult, and you should kind of be like, no, like, you should include them. I guess as you get older, and you could correct me if you feel like it's different now, but I feel like as you get older, yes, it's less intentional. But I don't know, I feel like people do things with intent. Like, if I'm doing something, I'm doing it with intent behind it. I'm not going to do something just to do it.
That view, I guess, comes from, that knowing of yourself that you do things intentionally. I know that not everybody does things intentionally,
Like, my brother, like, he just does things and does it. He's not like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he has no, like, malicious intent behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's always malicious. I just feel, as people, I feel like, and look, this is, like you said, it's kind of me projecting on other people. I'm somebody who's super analytical and likes to think everything out. So whatever it is, if I'm going and making a decision, 99% of the time I'm thinking it out. So it's like, yeah, I guess not everybody does things with intent. And like you said, people might be taking it the wrong way. But the way I feel is people do things with intentions. Like I said, not always bad intentions, not always good intentions. But I feel like by doing an action, there's an intent behind it.
Yeah, whether intended or not, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think, definition in the word in the definition doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So say someone does it maliciously, right? They intentionally exclude you. They kind of make it known. How do you approach that? How are you reacting to that? Are you like, how do you have a do you go up to them? Do you talk to them? Do you just kind of leave it be and say, whatever, I'm over it, I'm done with it, and not kind of just, I don't want to say move on, but like move on in a way?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. For me, if it's somebody I'm close to, I would have a conversation and I'd just ask why. I just want to be real. I'm just curious. If it's somebody I'm really not close with and I don't really value the relationship, I just, whatever, it's like they did me a favor. I don't care. But I'm definitely, and I'm also someone who likes including people, so like I feel bad when people are left out and I see somebody intentionally doing it. Like I don't like that. And look, there's times where people just want to do things with them and another person. Like there's nothing wrong with that. If me and you want to just go watch a movie and we don't want, whoever coming, like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I mean it more where it's like, you're having a group of people, and then you're excluding that one person.
Okay, so essentially like a bigger group of people is hanging out, and then all of a sudden one day, one or two of them just stop being invited.
Exactly. Like,
okay.
And look, if there's a reason why those people are being not invited, like, I feel like you should tell them. You know what I'm saying? Like, have a conversation about it so these people aren't just like, oh.
Especially if there's respect there.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
you guys are close and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you go about handling the emotions that would come from that situation if you were on the the excluded side of that?
I mean, I guess I would say I'd have to make a change in myself. Like, obviously, if everybody feels that way.
I don't know. I might disagree with that.
How would you take it?
Not necessarily that I would need to make a change, but with myself, look, at the end of the day, as long as you're happy with who you are, that's what matters. Because you're the one that has to live your life. But I don't know. Like, if it's your close friends, you'd be like, hey, would have been nice to go. Whatever. I don't know. I wouldn't. And don't make it more than it is. Yeah. Like, don't go and make it a whole big situation and blow it up into something more than what it already is. Just go have a conversation. Stay level-headed about it. If you really have questions you want answered, and these people are, who you thought were your close friends or whatever it may be. And I feel like just get some answers because I'm sure you have questions in that situation more than anything. Yeah,
totally.
Because it's like that doubt a little bit in whatever way it kind of shows itself.
Yeah, and it's hard to kind of even for us to speak about it. I feel like I said, like, it's not something we've really experienced. So it's like...
It's a little bit harder for me to kind of put into words.
Yeah, it is. It's tricky. I just feel like, especially, specifically with FOMO, you have to kind of stop worrying about other things. Focus and really be present.
Yeah, you have to bring it back to yourself.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's really what I feel like would work
best. I feel like what's even helped me, I've lately been meditating. So...
Me too, yeah.
I do it every day, or like 5-6 days a week whenever I go to the gym. So I go in the sauna and I meditate. It's done, amazing things for me. It really grounds me, centers me. It makes me appreciate the things that I do have and not worrying about other things outside of, what's important. So, you really have to focus on the things that are important.
And I think another thing too is like a lot of times those emotions show up and these things and people rush to like, oh, I need to feel better now. I need to make myself feel better. I need to fix this problem. Like, just let a day go by. Yeah. Let 2 days go by. Like, give life a chance to happen. You know what I mean? Like, there's no rush. Your friends might have just been like, hey, we're going to go do this. They might just either, not have thought of you, which, yeah, that might hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
But... most of the time, if they're actually your friends, they're not doing those things intentionally.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you've had a conversation and they've been like, oh, we didn't mean to, they didn't mean to. Take their word for it. They're your friends. You know what I mean? And remind yourself of that next time. Don't let it eat you up inside. And if it is, then go talk to a friend or your parent or somebody you could trust with those emotions.
Yeah, definitely.
Because sometimes you need to hear it from someone else.
Definitely. So the next time you have FOMO, remember that you are meant to be wherever you are right now. Thank you guys so much for listening, and don't forget to check out Dark Angel Company on Instagram @Dark Angel Co. and online at darkangelco.com. If you're interested in supporting and spreading awareness towards bringing light to a dark topic together, then tune in next time.